Hi guys, this is Sarah from Weird Horizon Podcast, and you are listening to Bigfoot Club Podcast.
Hey guys, please go to our website at www.bigfootclubpodcast.com. Please check out our bios, please buy some merch, and you can listen to all our old episodes. Also, check us out on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us by typing Bigfoot Club #1. That's Bigfoot Club, the number 1. Also, if you have any strange stories or if you just want to reach out to us, please email us at bigfootclub, the number 1, @gmail.com. Also, check out Matt Knapp's Bigfoot Crossroads. He is on all platforms. Hey everybody, Robert Jesse Dominguez, Bigfoot Club, Season 4, Episode 16. I'm here with Big Boy Jones 2029. I'm sorry.
Steven.
Yeah. So
that's my Twitch, I guess.
Yeah, that's his Twitch handle, so I just wanted to say that real quick. How's Twitch going really quick?
It's going pretty well. Getting viewers. I like, the goal is to get more, but, I'm enjoying the streaming, playing video games and talking to chat and
right.
Yeah, but it's going good. I'm having fun.
I know I'm always on it, but I just want to ask that for
Bigfoot Club 1 in the house
for the listeners.
Yes.
But anyway, I'm really excited today. This is actually the first guest that I'm actually interviewing that was interviewed through Matt Knapp with Bigfoot Crossroads. Mm-hmm. And so I want to introduce Wolfgang. Wolfgang, hello.
Hello.
Hey man, thanks so much for being on. First of all, I just want to say that, and we'll probably get to this, but I just wanted to say, if I ever saw somebody dressed as Snake Plissken, I would walk over to you really fast and grab you by your shoulders and say, we're going to be best friends. Because I love Snake Plissken, and I heard a rumor that you were dressed as Snake Plissken at one time.
Yeah, it was just for an Egyptian theater screening of Escape from New York and Escape from L.A., and John Carpenter was there. And I was, that's one of my favorite movies from the 80s anyway. So
mine too.
And it was such an easy get up. It wasn't screen accurate or anything. I just happened to have a leather jacket and a pirate patch that I threw on,
And
I didn't
naturally have long hair too.
I did, yeah, a little bit. It wasn't as long as Snake's, but
right.
I didn't expect to meet John Carpenter face to face. So I went to go get something out of my car, and when I was, John Carpenter was walking up the alleyway to go into the theater, and he walked up to me and he says, "Oh, Snake Plissken, I thought you were dead."
That's awesome. That is awesome.
And obviously that made my year.
Yeah, that man, I'm telling you. Oh my! What are the odds?
That is.
I didn't expect it. Because with these events, you show up and you just likely not going to meet anybody because there's a theater full of people that want to meet them anyway. So the best you can expect is actually just hearing them talk about their movies or whatever. So it was purely accidental. What
did he say to you? Did he other than that great?
Other than that, he didn't say much. He was actually smoking a cigarette before he went in the theater too. We exchanged some words. I can't remember. I was probably too. He's one of the few people that I kind of fanboyed over, you know, and I can't remember what we spoke about, but I think I mentioned something about being really excited to see a double feature for the first time on the big screen, and he was ecstatic about that. And
I wanted to throw this at you really quick, or for down the road. I'm planning on doing an episode of just us talking about Escape from New York, and I would really love it if you came on and talked to us about that as well.
Of course.
Okay.
I can talk about that movie all day long, especially Lee Van Cleef. I love that guy.
Oh yes, Clint Eastwood movies, and oh my God, it was. Because that movie was basically like a Western, pretty much.
Yeah, that was his homage to spaghetti westerns.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, as much as I want to talk about Escape from New York all day, like I was saying before, we have officially not met.
No,
I know you.
but we will.
Yeah, we definitely will. And I would just wanted to say that I know I was talking to Matt Knapp about you, and this was kind of odd because he was telling me, he goes, "Hey, you got to have Wolfgang on," and I go, "Okay." He goes, he had some Bigfoot experiences. He met John Carpenter. I go, okay, I want to talk to him already. And so he was telling me about you, and it was funny because like we were like talking on the phone about you, and then you messaged me.
And that's when I heard your podcast about your near-death experience about a year ago.
Right.
Wow.
And I listened to that whole thing, and I was, I'm always interested in that. Like, what is it that people go through when they're having a near-death experience? And it was fascinating to listen to. And I was like, you know what? This guy sounds cool. The people he's talking to sounds cool. And, oh, wow, he's from Irving, Texas. And that's exactly the soil I'm standing on right now. I need to just message this guy and say, hey.
I mean, because like once he told me that, and then you messaged me, I told Matt, I go, guess who's messaging me right now? He goes, who? I go, Wolfgang. He goes, you got to be shitting me. I go, no, he's messaging me right now. I go, synchronicity at its finest.
Synchronicity.
It is.
So, but again, I wanted to say thank you for coming on. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I know I messaged you like off show, and I was talking to you about, I listened to another show that had you on, and you were talking about your experiences. So I wanted to go talk about your experiences on, because I'm assuming that your experience was not pleasant, or was it pleasant, or am I getting that wrong?
My experiences, the two main ones that really jolted me were not pleasant at all. No.
Okay. You want to? Can we revisit that? Is that okay, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, let's see. I guess this took place. I mean, I had experiences prior to that, but I didn't think that they were Bigfoot-related experiences. So can we back it up to that?
Sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first experience that I had that I didn't think was Bigfoot-related, I was hanging with a friend of mine. We were in grade school for sure. It was probably like third or fourth grade. And he lived near the woods, in northeast Canton, Ohio. And he and I were out playing out back, back then, like parents would just kind of let you go do your thing wherever you wanted to go, just be back by dinner. And so my friend and I, we went out playing, carrying on, like exploring. That's how I spent most of my childhood, was exploring in the forests. And we were out there. I know that we were making a lot of noise. Just, we were probably playing G.I. Joe or something like that. And we heard some trees shaking. And it startled us, and I looked over to my side, and up in this tree, there was a monkey, like, shaking the tree branches. It was looked like a small ape. And then it just, sat there and stared at us, and it obviously scared us silly, and we ran back into the house, at that point. And I never chalked that up as to being like a Bigfoot. I just thought, well, that's weird. Why is there a monkey in Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
So I just never really paid much attention to that. And this was actually about 4 miles from where my next sighting would be. And it had turned out I was having issues with my girlfriend at the time, and I was distraught. And anytime I wanted to clear my mind, I would go camping, and sometimes it was by myself. I wanted my friends to camp with me, but they both had to work in the morning, and they did not have the opportunity to do that on that particular night. So I was like, I think I was getting my car fixed or something like that. I probably was, because my car always needed fixed. And and so I was like, can you drop me off at this this point, this spot, and I can go in, I can walk in, and I can create my my campsite. And they were like, sure, no problem. We'll help you set up your camp. It's no problem. Which my camps were never like complicated in any way. So there's a spot where I used to go to when I was a kid with my friends. It was near the series of coal mines. And they basically got me out there, and we set up camp and everything. It was getting dark pretty fast, and so they were like, "We have to go." I was like, "Yeah, I understand. You know, we'll see you tomorrow or whatever." The camp would have been probably like a mile away from my parents' house. I wasn't living there, but I could just walk there and get a ride from my mom or dad or whatever to go back to my apartment. So that night, the fire's dying down, and I'm getting tired. The only thing I'm thinking about is this issue I'm having with this girl, you know. So I'm not thinking. This is just normalcy for me. I would go out and I would go camping, period. And there's no, I wasn't afraid of anything because I think, you know, like even at that point in life, and I was super young at the time, I had done it so many times. There was just nothing to be afraid of out in the woods. My dad, he like gave me like a pellet gun to, you know, fend off like any like wild dogs, like coyotes or whatever, which obviously that probably wouldn't be very effective, but I didn't have that at the time. But at that point, I just was not afraid of much of anything.
I was going to ask you at this point, did you know anything about Bigfoot, or did you not know anything? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, I saw the Leonard Nimoy thing, In Search of, with the Patterson Gimlin footage, mm-hmm. and I was intrigued by it, but I just assumed that it was a Pacific Northwest type of thing, and so I would not equate like Bigfoot being in the area that I was at. So I fall asleep, and I'm probably sleeping pretty good at this point. And at around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I jolt awake and I feel uneasy, and I don't know why. I just know that something's wrong. But I know that I'm cold, like I'm starting to freeze. This was getting towards fall anyway. And so the nights were cold. And so I start blowing on the coals of the fire to get that going again. And then I hear it. And it's a high-pitched scream. And obviously, like, it sends me, like, into an instant fear. Like, what is this? It's nothing like I heard before. I know that you guys have probably heard of like the lion roar type of deal. Mm-hmm. It was sort of like that, where you feel it in your chest. And
yes, I've had that experience in East Texas. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, and I want to get to that too, because I don't know about what you guys have been through out there. But I definitely want to hear everything you guys have to say about it. So it sends me into like a state of shock. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm in shock. I didn't know what shock felt like at the time, but I know what it is now. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what do I do? Do I run? And then I'm like, no, Dad always said, you know, like if there's a wild animal around, don't run. Just back away, walk out. And so the screaming continues. So like I'm hearing a scream from one end of the camp, and I'm hearing a scream from this little valley area behind my camp. And so I'm still trying to figure out how. I know that whatever decision I make could be deadly, so I need to make the best possible decision under the distress I was under at the time. And so I'm sitting there and I hear noise coming from one of the the part of the camp that's just past the caves. And I'm basically sleeping on top of these coal mines. And I see this thing run by my camp, and I can tell immediately it doesn't look human at all. And it's running to the area behind my camp where the valley is. And so I'm obviously instantly scared because I know that it's not a person. It doesn't look like a person the way it's running. It was more fluid, and it was running so fast, like dodging trees. If you could see the area, I've taken many people to see that area, and it was like running through trees like it was nothing, and it was in the dark. Obviously, since it was dark, I didn't get a really good look at it, but it was definitely not a person the way it was running.
Could you gauge? I know you said you could view it, but could you see like the hair color or what size it was, or it was a male or female, or
because it was dark, I couldn't tell if it was like a dark brown or a black, but it was probably one of those two things. I could definitely see that head shape that people talk about, sort of like a pointy head, and I couldn't tell if that was the hair or the actual skull. With long arms, and but it was, like in comparison to the Patterson-Gimlin film, you could compare it to that if it was a much younger and leaner version of that.
Okay.
And more ape-like, less human-like and more ape-like. And so the fact that it ran past me, I mean, I wasn't comforted at all, but it gave me some sort of like a semblance of comfort knowing that it was running in a different direction towards the other scream from the other side.
So was it running toward like a direction that you didn't go to if you decided to exit that camp, or?
No, thankfully the direction where it came from is the direction I would need to get to the path that leads out of the area. I wouldn't have known at the time, like if I had to go in the direction of those things, I wouldn't have known how to get out there at that time. So it was very lucky that it happened to go in that. I never even thought of it in that perspective, but I'm very lucky that I knew where that path was, and that thing was going in the opposite direction.
Because I've heard many stories, and I've talked to a lot of eyewitnesses that whenever they have like an encounter, like say yours, they get shadowed out. They get shadowed out of the area, and they won't leave until you leave. And it's just I think maybe you caught it whenever you were blown on the coals. You probably caught it as it was trekking through the area. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
it was trekking through the area and goes, oh, I gotta go to this area. So
well, I think the fact that I came out of the sleep feeling uneasy. I think that it had already screamed when I was asleep. So I'm sure that it was the scream that woke me, but I didn't remember the scream because I was coming out of the sleep,
Yeah. Another question I wanted to ask you really quick was, because I'm really into this infrasound stuff. And I go back and I talk to people that I've talked to in the past about eyewitness reports.
Yeah.
And I always fail to ask them, how did you feel whenever you had your sighting or whenever you run into him? Because like I was going to ask you, did you feel sick or did you feel nauseated? Did you feel like dizzy headed or anything like that?
I think I felt all of those things, but I mean, not to the extent that I've heard other people talk about. Mm-hmm. Mine was more based off of the fight or flight thing. I mean, I didn't know what to think of it at the time. I just called it my spidey sense because I didn't have any other way to.
Yeah.
But you get this like tingling sensation on the whole back part of your head. And your whole nervous system is just on fire trying to figure out like what do I do next? And that's how I felt before I even saw it. I was feeling that way, but once I saw it, it was like it was overwhelming.
How about smell? Did you smell it at all?
No smells, no.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
I don't know. I can't explain that. I know that I've heard people say that they've smelled things, and it may be one of those things where it is sort of like a skunk sort of
pungent smell.
Yeah, where they intentionally release this smell at certain times if they feel fear or whatever.
I mean, looking back on it now, I mean, do you think this was an alpha male? Do you think it was a juvenile? Or a youngling? Youngling? Well,
that's what I think is. I think that they were young and they were probably testing me, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what Robert Morgan said whenever I had him out there. He's like, you probably encountered a couple of...
Robert W. Morgan?
Yeah.
You met Robert W. Morgan. Oh my God.
I got to tell you the story on how that happened.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me finish the part where I got home. Okay. Basically, at this point, like, this thing runs across my camp towards this little valley, and that's the point where I just stand up and I start walking in the opposite direction towards that path, and I'm literally just walking. I am not running. I'm not walking at a fast pace, because I just want to get out of the woods alive, to get to the road, which wasn't that far, but it was far enough. I mean, it could have been 100 miles, honestly. I mean, the way it felt at that time. I had been up and down that path probably 1,000 times and never had any kind of experiences like that. And so I once the screaming continued until I got to that path. Once they saw that I was leaving, the screaming stopped. Okay. And thankfully, I didn't have a situation like I've heard from other people where they get escorted out.
Right. Shadowed out, yeah.
Yeah. So I got to the road. I ran to my parents' house, which was probably about a half mile down the road, and pounded on the door. This was I'm assuming 3:00 in the morning. And then I went and I told my parents about it. They knew that I was shook up. They didn't know what for. Obviously, my dad, who's been a hunter and a fisherman and then a mushroom hunter all of his life, never seen or heard anything like that before, probably doubted me, and I told my friends about it. We had an experience that very next night. We went to the same spot, and since I was like 19 at the time, I just thought, you know what? Lightning never strikes twice in the same place. So I'm going to take these guys out here that doubt me. I felt challenged, like, these guys don't believe what I'm saying. And it all happened all over again.
Wow. So they got to experience it too.
They got to experience it, but with no visual. I wish they would have had the visual, but at least they knew that I was not messing with them in any way. So, like, I actually fell asleep again that night, that second night. And it was my friend Randy that woke up first to the screams. And then I woke up, and then my other friend Tony woke up. And we had a tape recorder on us at the time. And we hit record, and we captured some screams. and that tape has since gone missing.
Oh no!
Oh wow!
But it wasn't a very good copy anyway, because we had turned the volume all the way up, thinking we were going to capture more sound by doing that. But we captured more sound from the tape recorder motors than the actual environment.
Yeah.
So we were definitely not very good at audio.
Well, it's you learn and you go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
Exactly. But at least they knew at that point that I was not full of it.
this was in
Northeast Ohio, right off of Route 30. Actually, less than 15 minutes from Minerva.
Okay. I went up to I think it was 2001, 2002. I went up to the Newcomerstown Bigfoot conference, and
Okay, yeah.
I think it was the 12th annual, and the 13th annual. I went up to there with at the time I was with the TBRC, so we went up there and got to walk around Conshohocken County and look around, and it's just like it was a lot of hills in that area.
Yeah.
It's like I think it was Amish area as well.
Sure.
And so yeah, it's I've been in that part of the country, so I mean it's amazing wilderness out there. So
It is awesome. And oddly enough, like I used to go camping during the summers once a week, once every other week with my family in Conshohocken. Never had anything happen ever.
wow,
Ever. But it was this one time, like that something did go down. But how I met Robert Morgan, I was having severe nightmares for a long time. I didn't realize what, I don't think there was a definition for, I guess they would call it shell shock at that time. But I had PTSD. I would have nightmares almost every night about this Bigfoot thing. And my mom called me at work, and she was like, I just saw this guy on TV, and he's in the area researching Bigfoot, and you might want to call the number. And it was Robert Morgan, and Robert Morgan had a place in Canton, Ohio for a while. I don't know if he's from Canton, Ohio. So anyway, I called Robert Morgan, and he was interested, and he came out to visit the site. And I showed him the area. And this was probably, I'm assuming, maybe 6 or 7 months after the situation happened. And my friend Randy was with me at the time, and we both met Robert, and he took us out there. I had no idea who he was until he nonchalantly mentioned some things he had done, and I didn't know he was in some movies either. He just said that he worked in Hollywood here and there. Yeah. He was not like, he wasn't bragging about anything.
No, he's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he really is.
I've never got a chance to meet him. He was supposed to come down to our first annual Bigfoot conference in Jefferson, but something happened and he couldn't make it, and I was really bummed out because I really wanted to meet him. And
when was this?
This was probably 2001. So
it's hard to lock that guy down because at that time he was just all over the United States.
Yeah, so. he was a busy dude because I remember we were trying to get him in, and we had to pencil someone else in. So at the time, and I think we got like Lauren Coleman, John Bennernagel, can't think of who we had. I think it was Smokey Crabtree and some other people, but Linda Mooten-Howe was supposed to show up too, but she couldn't show up either. So I never got a chance to meet her either. But anyway, wow, you got to meet him. Man, I'm so jealous. I'm so jelly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he was great. He was sort of, I mean, he actually came to my parents' house too and like explained like, your son probably had this happen, and he explained everything, and like it was all new to me at the time. Like I didn't do any Bigfoot research or anything like that. I wasn't interested in Bigfoot at that time. I was interested in cars and girls and movies. Right. So it was nice that he stopped by and took the time, and
Absolutely, that's awesome.
and like kind of gave me somewhat of an answer to what happened. He assumed that it was juveniles too, just based off of the report that we gave, and I lost touch with him for a while, and then around 2001, I was still struggling with the dreams, and I found him on the internet, and started talking with him through like AOL Messenger, and it was just he was always very receptive, and
he is such a good person. Any questions I had for him, he would always answer it, turn my email. It was awesome. I just wish I had a chance to meet him, but man. But I was going to ask you, have you overcome that? Have you overcome the dreams and stuff? Okay.
When I moved to California, it seemed like they just pretty much dissipated for the most part.
Mm.
I would have the occasional dream here and there, but I didn't. I those dreams are practically gone. Like if I have one, it's not very often, and it obviously catches me by surprise when I do have one. I think because I've grown to understand certain things about my encounter. For one thing, they could have smashed my face in while I was sleeping, and they didn't.
Yeah, I think they just wanted you out of that area.
They just wanted me out of the area, so.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I came to some sort of a peace just because I realized, you know what, if they wanted me dead, they would have had me dead.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know I've helped a couple guys that have night terrors too, and I've helped a guy, and I explained to him why I thought he saw them and why they were there, and he never equated it to like food or family, or it had family. He just thought it was a monster and wanted to kill him. I said, if he wanted to kill you, it would have killed you.
Yeah.
But man, because I was listening to this other like I was saying, I was listening to the podcast. I was listening to you talk and stuff, and I know, you went through these night terrors, but I know you. Whenever I hear you speak, you speak like you're a researcher. I'll just say that, because like some of the verbiage that you use, like you were explaining to this other podcaster that if he asked you about a gun and you said, well, if I'd have shot it, it would have just pissed it off, and it had brothers and sisters, and I go, like novices and people who just casually see a Bigfoot don't talk that way. So I'm assuming that this has become like a passion to you now, or what?
It still is from time to time. It's not something it's not my main point of interest, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I've had, every once in a while I get the bug, it's like I need to know more. I want to know more, and I've had a lot of experiences even since then. They haven't been frightening experiences, but they've been very interesting and intriguing, and they may be Bigfoot and they may be something entirely different. I don't know. But I do know that that it's something that every once in a while I become a little obsessed over.
Yeah. Same here, man. Same here.
Interested in certain things, and then I just find myself like thinking about those experiences, and it's like, what was that? What was going on exactly? And I've met so many people, like, thankfully, honestly, I should make mention of this, and I don't know if I have before or who I've talked to. Maybe I said it to Matt, but on his show. But because of podcasts, I've been able to deal with it. And being able to hear other people's accounts and stories, and people that I genuinely feel like they actually had an encounter. Like, I hear some that are clearly not true. But then I hear some that I'm like, I really relate to that. Like what what they experienced and how they're wording it. They obviously went through something very legitimate, in regards to Bigfoot.
Right. I mean, that's because like I've interviewed so many people, like hundreds and hundreds of people, and I can usually tell when someone's pulling my leg, or someone's like they're convinced that they've actually seen something, and and I usually go off body body movement, body motion, their eyes, and but yeah, I mean, you can always tell when someone's telling you, hey, I saw this thing, and it scared the heck out of me, and I don't know how to deal with it, and because usually I think whenever people came to me that day, whenever I was with the TBRC, I was kind of like the last conduit or the last avenue for someone to go, because they usually try to go to local law enforcement. They don't believe them. They go to their spouse. They don't believe them, their family, and I'm usually like the last conduit. So I've always tried to be available for anybody that wants to talk, or just like I used to tell them, I go, if it's 3:00 in the morning, call me. If you need to talk about it, I'm here to listen. So, I mean, I always love hearing stories and seeing if I can help people. So I love the story that you're telling us. I mean, it's like, it's almost like we were there with you, but anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty frightening. I don't think about it very often. I don't talk about. I honestly didn't expect to come on the show and actually talk about this particular encounter, but it's always the one that shakes me up. So like whenever I get into my own head and I start thinking about it, it messes with me a little. But I've had these other encounters that are obviously, they're not as scary. Obviously, like. Whenever I started listening to other people's encounters on shows, they would talk about how they were chased out of the woods and they had rocks thrown at them, and when you really back off far and look at the big picture, like we were talking about earlier, if they wanted you dead, you'd be dead. So they may have paralleled you out of the forest. They may have thrown rocks in your general direction, but they didn't. If they wanted to really hit you with a rock, they'd hit you with a rock.
Yeah, I mean, that always, like, whenever I heard your story and I heard you talk about you got up and you kind of like blew on the fire and it kind of stoked it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I recall talking to somebody, he was telling me whenever he was in the woods, he lit a cigarette, and when he lit a cigarette and then inhaled, he heard a growl. And then once they saw that flame, it growled. Yeah. It growled at him. Okay, he didn't know what it was, and so I kind of, whenever I heard that part of your story, I said, "Man, that kind of reminds me of that one." But anyway,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's possible. It's possible that thing was way closer than what I thought it was before it ran through the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I started blowing on the fire, it could have been like, 30 feet away.
Man,
I don't know. I'll never know. Obviously, there are some certain things about that situation I'll never know, but I do know that it was. They started screaming at me on both ends when I started blowing on the coals on that fire. But I don't know if that was coincidental or what, or if it was something that geared them up in some way.
I was gonna ask you your other incidents, and this incident was in Ohio. What did you mostly have all your stuff there, or?
Yeah, most of everything that I've ever had was in Ohio.
Okay. Did you know Don Keating or Mark DeWorth or Monty Ballard? Did you ever meet those guys, or?
I never met Keating. I wish I would have. I think Keating's awesome. I did meet Mark DeWorth. I believe he's the one that came out to investigate an audio I took off of my parents' porch. I think that was around 2012 or 2013.
Is that the audio that you? What audio did you send me? Is it okay if can we talk about that, or?
Yeah, the audio I sent you that has more of a whooping sort of sound.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that Mark DeWorth came out and investigated the area. Yeah.
I'm going to play it really quick. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
I sent, whenever you send that to me, I send that to Steven, my nephew, and I told him, I said, I've heard that in the woods too. I've heard that call in the woods, similar like in East Texas. So that's amazing. It almost sounds like it's like moving away a little bit. I don't know. I'm guessing there. So
I'm not sure, but you could hear overlapping whoops, so it sounded like two vocals.
Let me play this second one. I'm gonna play the second one. I'm gonna play it one more time. Hold on.
Yeah.
So Mark DeWorth came out and took your sighting report or your incident.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the first audio that you played, the whooping sounds, he came out for that. But the second one was, you could clearly hear coyotes being ramped up. Mm-hmm. The recording is not good. It was taken off my iPhone. I basically used the video part of my iPhone to record it. And you hear the coyotes, but there was something underlying the coyotes that was ramping them up pretty good. I don't know what it was, and I'm not saying that it's Bigfoot.
Right.
I'm just saying that it was something that was really...
out of the ordinary.
Yeah, it was out of the ordinary. It was something I just didn't normally hear, and it was pretty eerie sounding. And this was at probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. Mark DeWorth, I've known him a while. He's a good dude. Mm-hmm. He's a good dude. Really, really like him. Man, you met a lot of Bigfoot people. A lot of...
I don't know much about Mark DeWorth. I just know that he's part of the BFRO. He came by and took my report. He was nice, and I don't know much about him. I have not, honestly, I have not met a lot of Bigfoot people. I never met Bob Gimlin. I would have loved to have met him.
Me too. So,
but I have met some interesting people. I met Mike from the Bigfoot store, the Bigfoot Museum, Discovery Museum.
Mm-hmm. In California? That one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I took a full-on Bigfoot pilgrimage one year, and I drove from Los Angeles all the way to Willow Creek.
Man, I am jelly. I am so jelly right now.
And so I got to meet some people along the way there. I went to Bigfoot Books. I met Jamie Wayne through Bigfoot. What's it called? Bluff Creek Project.
He seems like a really, really good dude.
He's awesome. Jamie Wayne is great. I mean, he's got a great sense of humor. I remember the first time I met him, he was like, I donated some camera traps to these guys at Bluff Creek Project. And he's like, I'm heading up to change these cameras out. If you want to go with me, you can. So we followed him up. I can't remember what this mountain was called. It was Eagle something. And just to mess with him, because I knew he had a sense of humor to begin with, we got all the way up the mountain, and to sound like a Los Angeles city boy, I was like, oh man, this was further than I thought it was. Is there a gas station anywhere around here? And his face dropped.
That's funny.
At that point, we were buddies,
Yeah.
But I didn't have really much of anything happen in California. I had two things I can say actually stood out. And again, I'm not claiming that it's Bigfoot. There was one time I was hiking up Kings Canyon, one of the mountains there, or hills, I should say. And the woman I was with, she was somewhat interested in Bigfoot. And she was like, do you want me to do a call? And I was like, yeah, sure, go for it. Do whatever you want. And she did a call, So we get to the top. I mean, it was a good call. We get to the top of this mountain, and then we start to descend from the mountain, and we hear this like really loud crash. It sounded like a shotgun kind of crash. It sounded like a tree break, like a really fresh tree break. And everything was so quiet. Didn't know, Again, I can't, I'm not saying for sure, but the fact that it was so quiet, and I don't know what else could have made that noise. It wasn't a tree falling sort of thing.
I'm just guessing here because it sounds like either a Bigfoot. I know you're not saying it's a Bigfoot, but I've experienced where a Bigfoot's walking down the tree line.
Yeah.
And my mentor, Luke Gross, was telling me, because he's going to come through at this time and he's going to leave and he's going to let us know. And so it would walk down this tree line, and it was just like walking and was just like twisting each branch as it's walking by and just just popping them. And it sounded like, to us, it sounded like a shotgun blast. I thought someone was shooting at us. I go, someone's shooting at us. And he goes, nope, he's the alpha. He's letting us know that he's leaving and he's dominant. So we got up the next morning. We walked up. We went over to the area that we thought it was at, and it was these bodart trees. And bodart trees are really dense wood trees. And this thing was like 8 feet up, and it was like a cascade of like branches that were just twisted. They weren't broken off completely. They were just twisted. He was just walking down this area, just twisting these branches. That's what it sounds like to me whenever you like talk about that. So that's it could be that. I don't know. It could be something else. It could be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just sounded like a really fresh tree branch break, or like a tree break. It didn't sound like something that was like accidental, And then if it was, if it was an animal, wouldn't it be like a bear, like kind of like hightailing it away from us, and we could hear it like run,
Yeah, I would think so.
Everything was very quiet around that tree break. Anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. I mean, and I'm not like saying that was my next Bigfoot experience.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. But I did have, I was staying in Big Bear at one time, and there's a nearby Air Force base there, and there was a sonic boom. And right after that boom, I heard that audio I first played you, that whoop?
Yeah.
It sounded just like that right after the sonic boom.
I wonder if it intrigued it or coaxed it to, what is that? It's
right. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Of course, I didn't have a recorder running.
Yeah, it always works that way. It always works. I mean, I was going to ask you, have you had any paranormal stuff happen to you?
Only once, but for the most part, I have to I'm just not on board with it. I just don't even know what to say about it. Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a case director for Pentex, Paranormal Investigations of North Texas, for 10 years. Yeah, I've had lots of stuff happen to me, lots of synchronicity, a lot of other stuff, but I don't know. It's
what do you think that is? I'd like to know your opinion on what that is. Is that residual energy, or do you think that's an actual spiritual ghost, so to speak? Or
I've always said all the time, whenever, because I've done tons of investigations and people come to me about it to find answers, and I always tell people all the time, you got to research the property. You got to know what's in the property. You got to know if there's limestone, there's like a underground river or a creek under your house. There's water flow. There's a well, because water is a conduit of energy. And so I think when Matt's grandmother passed away, she, I tell people this all the time, that if you have a tragic life or you had a good life, it's always like an impression there all the time. So whether it's bad or good, it's going to be there regardless. And so I think it's just energy. It's like her energy that was there, because she passed away in that house. So I think it's residual energy, and it's just whatever is in that property, it's retaining it for some reason. And that's just the way I look at it. I mean, there's other, people have different theories, and I don't know. It's just one of the things I think about.
That's a good thing to think about.
Yeah, so it's just like,
I mean, it like anytime you like take the time to like try to understand what it is going on here, like with consciousness and the nature of reality.
yeah.
You're miles away from the other people around you.
Yeah, I mean,
Not that it's a competition.
no, it's not. It's not. It's just like one of those things that, because like when I was with the TBRC, and I hate saying this, but when I was with the TBRC, we were so fixated on Bigfoot was flesh and blood. That's what the teaching that we had whenever I first started. And then whenever I broke away from them, I started talking to other people. I started talking to Native Americans. I started talking to elders. I started talking to young people that have sightings and stuff. And so I'm kind of more open now to a lot of other stuff, because like if you talk to any Native American like Choctaw or Caddo, they're going to tell you that the white man's never going to find a Bigfoot, because it's spirit. They believe it's spiritual, and they're never going to find it. They're never going to put it on tape or catch the body or whatever. And so I don't know. Those are not my theories, but I'm going to be one of those people that I'm going to listen to what they have to say, or at least have that information and just hold it and use it useful somewhere down down the line.
I agree with you as far as like understand, like trying to understand what other people are getting at and believe, but I definitely think it's flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Because of my encounter, it didn't seem there was nothing supernatural about it. It was just like
and there's nothing wrong with that. I take everybody's like instant report or eyewitness report the same way. And it's whatever those people believe, whatever I'm all about that. But I don't know. I've talked to so many people, so I try to get like information from everybody, because I've talked to so many people that see portals and see Bigfoot stepping into a portal I've never experienced it. That's not my theory, but I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to that story and gather it. So
I listen to all kinds of Dogman reports, and I don't necessarily believe in Dogman, but there are so many reports. It's just crazy.
It is crazy, isn't it? Because like I hear so many stories about it, and people ask me that question. I go, I have yet to have one story about Dogman.
Yeah.
Or ran into him. But I mean, I think I ran into someone at the Mineola Bigfoot conference, and he was telling me about a story, and it was in Texas, and I go, okay. I mean, I listened to his story and gathered it, but I don't get very many of those at all. And, but it's not to say I don't believe in it. I'm just saying, hey, bring me your story. I'll listen to you.
But I mean, if you had a Dogman podcast, you'd probably be getting tons of,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I mean, I want to, let's turn the tables. I want to know more about you guys, Stephen and Robert. I want to know like what your encounters have been like. What's going on? Like, what's going on out there?
Well, I mean, Stephen and I, we haven't done any like official stuff. I think we stopped like in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we stopped it because like and I hate to say this, the Bigfoot community, it can be really, really bad. It can be really negative, very, very toxic.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. so we stopped around 2017, but like beforehand, I mean, we would go out with Luke Gross, my mentor. We would go out with, I think it was Todd Partain.
Mm-hmm.
He's a documentary guy. I don't think he's doing like any more movies or films now, but we would go out with him, and I would research with Ken Marvel, and then I would like talk with Matt Knapp, and we would go out sometimes, Matt and I and stuff. So I mean, I don't do a whole lot anymore, but I still, if people reach out to me now and still ask me for help, then I'll go out and help them. I think the last case I've gotten was in Longview, and that's with John Doe. And he had a pretty interesting story. It's on our podcast, and it's like he had like one of the most interesting stories because number one, he used to be a wrestler, and he saw this thing come out of the woods, and it jumped out of the woods, and he said he wrestled Andre the Giant, and he said this thing was two Andre the Giants shoulder to shoulder, and he said it moved so unnaturally, like like it was floating. That's what he said. It moved so quickly. And so that kind of intrigued me. And I want to go out to his property, but this was, I think, his mother-in-law's property, right? Mm-hmm. His mother-in-law's property. And he's not in, he's divorced now, and so he's not in good relations with his mother-in-law. And so to me, I want to go out there because this Bigfoot was very, very aggressive. And I want to go out there, and this is what, Bigfooters want. They want an aggressive Bigfoot so they can like film it and have it come out and react. So yeah, I still want to go out and do that. And like, I ask him all the time, I go, hey man, you going to give me this address? Hey man, you going to go out there with me? He goes, no, there's no way, because you can't pay me enough money to go out there. But yeah, we don't do a lot of Bigfoot stuff anymore. Like, but again, we're mostly, cryptid sports entertainers now. So I don't call ourselves podcasters anymore. I call ourselves cryptid sports entertainers.
There's only like a couple places where I would actually go back. Concho.
Yes.
I'd love to go back. You say, let's go do it tomorrow. Okay, let's go. And then I actually you're going to think I'm crazy. I want to go to that spot where you took Julian.
Brown Springs.
You said that.
We should take Wolfgang out there.
Yes,
that one.
Take me.
So this one has like.
I didn't go. You were telling me about it. And I go, yeah. Oh man, that sounds really bad.
Yeah, this one, I think the Dallas mob used to dump bodies there, and there's lore of dogmen in that area. And then there's also Bigfoot in that area too. So whenever I went out there, I had a lot of like, I want to say it was infrasound, or it could be, EMF. I don't know. But whenever I got there, like I had like something pushing on my chest, and I just felt very uneasy there.
The air felt heavy.
Yeah. And like we walked down the Red River and we walked back. And I think at the time, we went out with Ken Marvel, and something had pushed a tree over in front of his car, and there was like 14-inch prints around his car. And it was broad daylight. It was like at around noon, and I made a couple calls, and something called back, to us on the other side of the Red River. And so had a bunch of stuff there. And
Julian, like, I'm sorry that we brought his name
into
it.
My cousin.
He was like trembling in fear, right?
Yeah, he wanted to leave like right away and stuff. So it was, but that would be a good area. The Longview area is the one I want to go to. And,
too.
And Concho, I don't know if you ever heard that story, Wolfgang.
No, I haven't.
Concho was the one. I heard the story from a colleague of mine. Well, actually, it was Todd Partain brought this story to me. Supposedly, there was a Bigfoot that walked up to a casino north of El Reno.
Oh, I did hear this. I did hear it.
Yeah, so this Bigfoot walked up to this casino and drank out of a grease pit, and they videotaped it. And so Todd Partain, huh? Go ahead.
Where's the video?
I know it's like we're asking for it because like Todd Partain was a guy that filmed documentaries, and so he heard the story, and so he asked me to go with him. So Steven and I went to Concho.
It was like a Saturday morning, right?
Yeah,
it was like a quick thing. Like, hey, we're going to Concho. I go, oh, okay.
So we like go up there and we go to the casino. I think his name was Michael Sulfur.
Mm-hmm. Michael Sulfur.
He had a cousin that was working there, and that was our contact. So we go there to go look at this video. We get there, and it's the owner of the casino said we don't want any non-Native Americans there. So they denied us. And I told him, I go, man, we drove all the way up here, man. I go, let me just see the video. I don't want to copy it. I just want to see the video. And they would not let us, they wouldn't show it to us. And we were already there. And I said, well, we're not leaving. So we had to drive into town and talk to some elders and get some paperwork done. That way we could legally be there and not, cause like they didn't want non-Native American people there.
I mean, you and I could pass.
Yeah, we could pass.
We could pass as Native Americans, but we had Todd Partain there, and he's stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, he's a redhead. He's a ginger. Yeah,
so. He was very, 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 very pale white. So yeah, that was our liaison was
Michael Sulfur. Yeah, Michael Sulfur was our liaison. So we actually went into town and we tried to interview people, and no one wanted to talk to us. And so we ended up going to the woods, where they have powwows, and a Native American Affairs officer pulls up, and he sees Todd at first. He doesn't see us.
Yeah.
And so he sees Todd, and he pulls up really quick, and he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna arrest this white man, and I'm gonna, put him in jail and get some money and stuff like that." So and then he sees us. He sees the liaison. We show him our paperwork, and so I had a tape recorder, and I approached him, and I said, "Hey, you want to talk about Bigfoot?" And he says, "Turn that off, and I'll talk to you." I go, "Okay." So I turned it off.
And I turned mine on. No,
and so
that's exactly how this operates.
I know. But he asked me, take the batteries out. That's what he told me. Take out the batteries.
Yeah.
So I took out the batteries, and he goes, "Man, Bigfoot's here all the time. We just can't talk about it." He says, "Man, I do like 3 reports on Bigfoot a week out here. And it's always out here." So, we ended up talking to him for like a couple hours, and it was kind of neat. And then as the sun was going down, Todd and our liaison wanted to leave, and I said, "No, we gotta do like some tree knocks and some some yells." So I get out of the vehicle and I go do some. Was it tree knocks first, or
it was tree knocks, and that's whenever Michael was like, "What are you doing?" He was scared, and then I was, you said, "I'm gonna do some tree knocks," and then like not even like you were like 10 feet in front of the car. I get out. He goes, "Wait, where are you going?" I said, if anything happens to my uncle, I want to be there. Like, at that point, it was all adrenaline. I used to be so scared of it, and now I was just like, "Oh, I'm riding this wave." And you did the tree knocks, and not even like 10 seconds later, there was
tree knocks
back, and then we were like, "Holy crap!" And then you did. I think you did two shots, two yells.
Yeah, 2 yells.
And then
we get 2 yells back.
2 yells back, and then the coyotes started going crazy and stuff, and we were just like, "Oh, this is okay." We stepped into something.
I wanted to stay, but the liaison goes, "We have to leave. We got to leave."
Yeah, I felt so bad for him. Like you could tell he was about to have like a freaking panic attack.
Mike, I'm sorry, Mike.
If you're listening to this, sorry, we love you. Please take us out again. We'll do it early in the morning, but. Yeah, he was like, "The sun's about to go down, man. We really need to get out of here." And we weren't even really deep in the woods. It was an off-road.
Maybe thing. Like, I don't know, like 70 yards or
70
something.
yards from the main road. And he was like, we got to go. We got to go. And Todd he looked like he was chill.
Yeah.
But he had his
gear
and the wheel and everything like set up on the car just in case if we needed to jump in and take off. But yeah I mean, and I'm always intrigued to go back to that one because there's a school, that abandoned school.
Yeah,
I keep bringing that up.
It's supposed to be super, super haunted. It's like has like portals there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the Native Americans say that there's like 2 or 3 portals.
They died. A lot of people died there with smallpox. Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, it's just weird that it's like right across the street from where all those Bigfoots where that activity was at.
Yeah, it's an intriguing place. I'd like to go back. I'd like to go to Brown Springs. I'd like to go back to. I want to go to Longview. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of places I want to go, and I think just recently, I'm able to walk better on terrain because as I got better, my footing has not been the best, and so but it's getting better now. But I think I'm ready. I'm ready to go back out, and I just need to get some snake boots or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, because you unfortunately will run into that over a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But I would like to talk about the people that I've met through the Bigfoot world, and how crazy and random it was. Like, of course, there's Jamie Wayne,
mm-hmm.
And that was great. And I met this guy named Tate Hieronymus, and I can't remember how I met. Oh, I guess I probably met him through the Bluff Creek Project, and he was so intrigued and fascinated with the subject, and I think we connected on Facebook back in the day. I had deleted my account. I just rejoined Facebook and.
So
I think what's interesting, there are 2 people that stand out for me that are incredible individuals that have experienced Bigfoot, and that's Bob Gimlin and Ron Moorhead, and the way they handle it, and they're so the critics like They just let the criticism roll right off their backs. And I know that it wasn't like that at first. I know that they had horrible criticism and judgmental people directing at them, and they were able to overcome that and be able to still stand a stable ground and tell their story. And I think that's fascinating, and we should all be more like them than people that, and I'm sorry, I respect people like Grover Krantz and Renee DeHinden, but at the same time, they were very dramatic and they were very abrasive and staunch in their opinions.
They were. Yeah.
And I, like, I appreciate what they contributed, but at the same time, I don't feel like it was like anything that could promote, like propel us forward in the research. Like they had a great theory, and that's where it ends.
I was just going to say, I just became friends with Ron Moorhead too.
Nice.
He just accepted my friendship probably a couple of weeks ago, so I was pretty excited about that. I go, Sierra Sounds, yes.
Yeah. And he's and I can apologize publicly to Ron Moorhead because I didn't think his Sierra Sounds were legit back in the day, back in the 90s, because what I heard in the woods wasn't what he heard in the woods.
Right.
I heard them screaming at me. So I didn't hear that gibberish or whatever. And so like I just, when I got his Sierra Sounds recordings on CD, I thought it was fake.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this. Here's where it changed for me. I heard a recording that was from East Texas, from Sam Houston National Forest. Mm-hmm. And you could hear the screams that I heard personally in Ohio. And you could hear the gibberish that he recorded in California. And at that point, I was like, there's no way he faked this.
I've actually heard both. I've heard the gibberish and I've heard the calls like you had. I've heard both of those in East Texas. Yeah. So I've had it up close to where it was so loud that my whole chest vibrated. Yes. And that's just something that, I've never seen one, but I know they're out there. I know it. And, I've had so many incidents where if I would just paid attention a little bit more, I probably would have saw it. But,
yeah,
it's just hard to see. I think I've always been a firm believer that these things, they pick and choose who they let see them. And I'm just not one of them right now. So.
Yeah.
And, I'm totally okay with that. So.
No, I have a theory about that too, because the one night I had a full-on visual, and the very next night I had two guys with me, and it didn't appear.
Right.
So
that totally makes sense. Yeah.
For whatever reason, I think that they are like full-on. They're that intelligent, and they're that aware that, for whatever reason, they think that like. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just if this one guy sees me, he can't tell other people without sounding like a fool.
I mean, I took whenever I took Steven out, was like how many times was that when I took you out before that?
Probably about 6 or 7 times, maybe.
And so like this 6 or 7 time, you actually had a lot of activity. Mm-hmm. When the one time I took him out, and I told him, I said, you better enjoy this, because like whenever I was doing like serious research, Wolf, it's like it would take me 6 months to get something close, just to hear something.
Because we got yelled at, we got eye shine, we got the rocks thrown at us, and I think that night something crossed that road where that truck was like going full speed, and then it just came into a complete halt.
Yeah.
And it backed up. You can see the lights back up, and then it just like takes off faster. And we're all like, that person, whoever that was driving the truck, saw something. They saw something. They almost either hit a Bigfoot or something. It hit something.
Yeah.
And that night was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was saying, it would take me like 6 months Like, because I would do a lot of my stuff in Paris, Texas, and I can say that because I'm not part of that group anymore. But I did a bunch of stuff in Paris, Texas, and it took me 6 months just to get something to come by close to me where I could either hear it or hear tree breaks or whatever. Because I would wear like the same clothes. I would wear the same clothes. And I would wash them in really mild soap, and I'd wear the same clothes, and I would bring the same gear. I would just do that. And like, I go, come on, man, let me at least see you, at least something. But, I don't know. It just like, I guess it just didn't pick me to do it. And, I'm okay with that. So, but, I kind of moved on, and I've kind of moved on just to help people now. So I just want to, and I know I keep saying that, but that's just the passion I have, is just to help people, hear their stories, help them go through it, and maybe give them some answers. Well, why did I see this? Or how come, this incident happened to me? And, so I don't know. I've just kind of got a passion for that.
I mean, that's a good passion to have, of course. But at the same time, I feel like you're looking at it at the wrong perspective, because I don't think it's picking you for anything. I think it's just it's random, and it's primordial and happenstance. It's about the character of the individual that you're around. It's not even we tend to like stereotype like how Bigfoot should be. So, I mean, there are some people that think that they're evil creatures that are out to rip people apart. And then there are the people that think that they're the friendly forest giants. And both of those are completely wrong.
Yes,
they're very much like us. Like, they all have attitudes. They all have.
They're moody, right? They're moody.
They're very moody, just like we are. And so, so it's not a matter of choosing. Like, they're not superior. I mean, they're superior in some ways, obviously, but they're not they're not magical. To me, I mean, right. I don't know what you believe, but I don't think that they're magical. I think that they're amazing creatures that I would like to study, but we can't study because they really are that smart
and elusive and all that stuff. It makes me wonder if, I always wondered this too, like, the animals get depressed. Does Bigfoot get depressed?
I would imagine so.
Like man.
I'd imagine they do, but I'd imagine that the amount of McDonald's that we pump ourselves full of cannot compare to the amount of clean eating that they have, and that's probably why they're superhuman. Is because they don't partake in that type. For the most part, they don't partake in that type of diet.
Yeah, nothing that except for that one that drank from the grease pit. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's their version of fast food.
Yeah,
grease pit.
Oh yeah,
that dude is like signing up for some surgery.
Yeah, he's like, man, I'm talking to his Bigfoot family. Like, my stomach hurts so bad. Well, you drank from the grease pit.
I need to get some.
I need a colonoscopy. So
but yeah, Bigfoot. That makes sense because they eat nothing. There's nothing processed unless they dig through unless they dig through like a garbage, and they do that. They do what they can to survive. But yeah, that's that always fascinates me and stuff like that. Their metabolism's so high. Their endurance. They're probably they're probably even like great swimmers.
I mean, I mean, I've heard of reports of them swimming. I've heard reports of them going through dumpsters. I've heard them stealing pigs.
Now, imagine how terrifying that would be if your first sighting is you're swimming in a lake and you're obviously looking and you just see a Bigfoot just floating, just looking at you.
Does he have a pina colada?
And he's just like has like a, I don't know, salmon in his mouth, and he's just like, I can't run away or can't swim enough fast enough to get away. You saw me.
I know.
Yeah. Like, that would be terrifying. I think I would probably pass out underwater.
Yeah, like, I would too.
That's a terror. Like, hey, I saw Bigfoot underwater.
Yeah.
While I was swimming, and there was a Bigfoot underwater. No one's going to believe that. No, Jesus. That's terrible.
But that stuff happens. I mean, you hear these stories. It's like, you can't make this stuff up. You actually hear like things like this happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially with fishermen and boats, like these things like swimming towards their boat, probably to grab the
fish line.
Yeah.
the stringer full of fish off the side of their boat and just like, hey, goodbye.
Yeah. And the strength, the amount of strength
Yeah.
that it has, like,
Yeah.
I can take you and the boat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no issue, but I want the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's that is crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy.
What do you guys feel about the missing 411 stuff?
Ooh, yeah. You know, are you talking about the missing 411 by what's his name? David. What's his name? Pilatus.
Pilatus.
Yeah. I think the missing 411 hunted one has a lot of undertones of Bigfoot. Without them saying the word Bigfoot.
I still gotta watch that.
Yeah, you got to watch it, man. It's
Yeah.
like it's
I think that they're like obviously playing off of that, you know, as it being Bigfoot. Clearly, 98% of the people that go missing in the forest is because of exposure.
yeah.
What do you mean by exposure?
You're like, you know, like they get dehydrated and they just, you know, end up dying because
people don't realize, like, especially, I mean, obviously, especially suburban or city people that go out and decide that they want to take a hike or go camping are ill prepared, and they lose sight of being dehydrated or whatever. You know, they don't realize that they're going to have to exude so much energy to do this or that, and before you know it, like, you're dehydrated and you're literally dying.
That's true.
yeah.
I think for the most part, but I mean, these people are obviously instantly found for the most, you know, like, but there's the occasion when they go missing. It's like, what happened here? You know?
Yeah, there's no trace of them. There's no clothing. There's nothing. And it's just, that's always intrigued me too. Like all that stuff. And what really boggles me so much is that the government and like the national parks, they won't report on that, or they don't investigate it, or they don't put any resources in it. And to me, that boggles my mind.
Because they know something, probably.
Maybe, but
Like, because
It could be.
the woods will eat anybody up, and if they're, like you said, if they're ill prepared on it, it takes advantage of it.
I don't know if you have either of you guys seen the nature video that somebody recorded. It was a photographer that tacked down a deer carcass in the forest and put a time-lapse camera on it, and you could see it deteriorate in like under a week.
Right. And it's just like off of scavengers and like the earth, right?
Yeah. So basically, like when people ask, like, why haven't you found a Bigfoot carcass or skull or whatever, honestly, nobody would see that ever.
You know, it's funny.
Ever.
It's funny that you say that, because like whenever I first met John Bendernagel, the wildlife biologist, I asked him that same question. I go, how come we have? And I was really young at the time. I said, how come we haven't found a body of a Bigfoot? And he goes, well, Robert, I know, I've been in British Columbia, and I know there's grizzly, I know there's brown bear. He goes, but I've never seen a skeleton of them because they get scattered. And so that hit home to me, like right whenever he told me that, I go, oh my God, that's so right. So John Bendernagel's telling me that, hey, it gets scattered and the earth takes it up. So, I mean, that makes so much sense. And when people tell me that, I say that all the time to them. I said, well, John Bendernagel says.
Nobody like that. That's interesting, but nobody ever really realizes the fact that there's probably many moments where a Bigfoot is fighting a grizzly bear, and we don't know because we don't see it.
Wow, yeah.
And you got to realize how many times because it's a grizzly bear, it's going to want to eat, so it's going to see something like, ooh, what is that? And the Bigfoot's just like, leave me alone, Or,
hey, this is mine.
Yeah, and then, this is my area. Yeah. And then a grizzly just starts charging. It's like, all right, you asked for it. And then there's like a battle, and we're missing that.
Battle Royale.
There's probably one happening right now, and that bothers
There's probably
me.
one happening right now, and it's not just one grizzly versus one Bigfoot. It's probably like 3 Bigfoot versus 1 grizzly.
A tag team.
Yeah, and it's like we're missing that. And then, you know, it's just one of those things where it just bothers me, you know, because what a sight to see.
Pay-per-view.
A pay-per-view match. it's what do you call it?
There's Alaska guys. I'm convinced at this point that the Alaskan guides, they see stuff and they just don't report it.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet, especially in like the Alaskan Triangle.
Yeah, like you're just walking in the woods and you're just like, what the hell is that? Who's yelling at you? Like, what's growling? Is that a grizzly bear? Oh, it's fighting another grizzly. That's not a grizzly bear. That's not a grizzly bear.
It's time for the main event.
And then you see a Bigfoot picking up the grizzly bear doing an F5. It's just I'm still a kid at heart. I used to always think that.
How come we haven't talked about that before?
Because I would think that you would probably laugh at me.
Well, I'm laughing now.
I'm laughing with you.
So,
but yeah, that always bothers me. Like,
that's awesome.
Oh Lord.
Wolfgang, you got anything you want to pitch or anything people want to shout out to or no?
I have so many people I want to shout out to. I got connected with Bigfoot Outlaws back in the day with Matt Knapp and these guys, like, literally they invited me like with open arms. I don't want to give out last names. Again, I don't know who wants to be on. And I'm not going to give out specific locations, but...
That's fine.
Eric and Kane... Eric introduced me to Kane, and they took me out. We went camping, and they showed me things in the forest that I had never seen before, I'd never noticed before. And they did it at a time where it couldn't be faked. So they didn't know exactly where I was at until the morning that I said, this is my location. And so I wanted to show them where my experience happened. And they came out, and this was the middle of winter, so obviously there was snow everywhere. And as soon as we started to get onto the area right off the road, Kane and Eric started noticing things that were very peculiar, and they said, this is interesting. So they took me, I started directing them towards the cave, or the coal mine system where I had stayed, and they started showing me all these things that were so interesting. And obviously, I mean, you would have to be so interested in like faking shit to actually go out in the middle of winter with boots on and do this.
I was about to say that too.
There were no boot tracks anywhere. Like, they had not been out here. The area that I took them to, they had not seen before, and I immediately knew that these guys were on the level, and they were showing me all these things that I have never noticed in the woods before. And there was so much validation that came with that, and it was so impressive that, and they were so humble too.
Well, I'm glad you got to meet some good people, because like that's fortunate, because there's some people who don't get to do that, and they meet, you know, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of bad apples and Bigfoot stuff. So.
The toxicity is real.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys were so welcoming and cool with like pushing information on me, knowing that they could trust me with this knowledge and not like spill it. It's because it's such a competitive thing for whatever reason. Why are we so competitive? That's the reason why it's not a real thing anymore.
Yeah.
Because people want to hold the fucking magic tricks Sorry about the swearing.
No, you're
you're
fine.
You're good.
We cuss all the time. We cuss all the time.
Okay.
Fucking shit. We cuss.
These guys were so legit. And the things that we experienced, the things that they showed me, like, they're dragging me through certain parts of the forest, and they're like, hey, Wolfgang, check this out. And I'm usually behind them because I'm taking pictures. And then I come upon what they're showing me, and I'm like, what? Oh my God, there's no way this naturally happened, you know? And so, I mean, before that, backtracking, I was on Sasquatch Chronicles at one time, and there's a fella on there that heard my report, and he was in the Ohio area. He invited me to go camping with him and a buddy of his, and this was Austin and Bob. And so these were 4 guys that didn't even know each other. And so the one night I went out with Kane and Eric, we went pretty deep in. They showed me some structures. We basically camped right on top of their trackway. And these guys, they talk real loud. And it was so loud, like, I mean, I was like, you could hear these guys talk in an echo in the forest. We're by the fire, the sun is just setting, and we hear this big tree just it just got bashed down. I mean, and it was so close. And these guys have been through this so often.
They weren't even fazed by it?
They weren't even fazed by it. They looked in the direction, and I can't remember who it was, if it was Kane or Eric.
Yeah.
And I recorded this. It's all on audio.
Yeah.
One of them said, oh, well, I guess they know we're here. And then he continued to tell his story that he left off from. That's how common it is to these 2 guys.
Yeah, they sound like Bigfooters for sure.
Yeah, they are definitely Bigfooters, and the stuff I learned from them was awesome. And I, at the same time, I knew these other guys, Austin and Bob, and so we, keep in mind at the same particular area. I'm not going to tell you where it's at. All night long, I heard whooping noises and tree knocks all night. I brought a green laser, and I showed Eric the green laser. And as soon as he ignited the green laser into the sky, we heard tree knocks and whoops. And these guys, they fell asleep. Like, they're used to this. And I'm scared to death because we're deep in the forest, and I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a long night, because we had a tree just get pushed down. To me, it's very confrontational. Like, if a tree gets pushed down really close to where you're at, that's a sign of aggression. But obviously they had other business to contend to, so they went off and did their thing. But you could still hear whoops and tree knocks all night long, and these 2 guys that I was camping with were snoring, like they were just completely out of it. They have just done it so many times that they just don't even care. But I was scared to death because, my last, aggressive experience like that was like in 1991. And so I told my friends Bob and Austin about this, and I said, hey, this is what happened in this area. We didn't go to that exact area. We went to an actual campground. And here's the bizarre part of the story. I'm telling them at the campground what happened. and we have a tree pushed down right by us. And it startled everybody in the campground. People in the campground started going towards the lake edge to see what happened. That's weird to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had to mention those guys: Tate Hieronymus, Bob, Austin, Kane, and Eric. Those guys all they helped me deal with things from the past, and also opened my mind to getting back out there and experiencing the good life, because that's what we're doing. That's why we go out there. If there was no Bigfoot, I would still want to camp.
Yeah, that's actually, like I said, I'm glad you got to meet good people and you got to experience that, because man, there's so many weird people out there, and I go, man.
Yes.
Because I always tell people all the time, I go, because so-and-so always tells me, hey, you should go out to the woods with so-and-so because they like Bigfoot. I said, well, just because they like Bigfoot doesn't mean I got to go to the woods with them, because I don't really know them. And so, yeah, it's good that you ran into some good people, because man, there's 5 people I would trust to go to the woods, and that's just how I am. And because you got to be able to, if you're going to go to the woods, you got to trust someone to get you out in case something happens to you. So
it's not just that, just knowing that they're not going to play games during the night to make you think that there's a Bigfoot. And Bob and Austin and Eric and Kane, those are the guys you can trust while you're in the middle of a deep sleep to not mess with you.
I'd like to meet them. So
they are very receptive of new people as long as they're legit.
Okay. Whenever we talk off show, hopefully you can give me their contact. I can.
Of course I will.
Hook up with them. Okay.
I mean, we could get on the show together. Honestly, Bob and Austin would probably come on with me, and so would probably Kane and Eric.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They're part of the Bigfoot Club.
Yes.
That's right.
But I think I'm going to cut the show because I think I got enough to do one show. So, Wolfgang, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really, really appreciate it. And I know I was trying to get you on. I was thinking about getting you on for a while, but hey, it worked out. It worked out good. I think this time slot worked out pretty good, and I'm pretty happy. So,
anytime you want me on.
Alrighty. Well, I'm just telling you right now, we're gonna get you back on for the Escape from New York one. So we're gonna talk about that one, because that's my movie. I used to tell people all the time to call me Snake. I go, call me Snake. so it was for the longest time. So
call me Snake.
But anyway,
yeah.
But I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you, guys.